Shanghai GDG is a very interesting developer community.
I'm glad somebody has asked this question.
This is where the magic happens.
This is primarily a question and answer show. So if any of you out there would like to ask questions.
Hello and welcome to GDL-IL, Google Developer Live Israel. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to speak about mobile web apps and what as a front-end developer we should think about when we are coming to develop a new product or a new service or a new layout to our website or web app. And of course we want it to be available on all the mobile devices that are out there. One common denominator that we see again and again in all the devices that we have today, and certainly in the near future in new devices, is one great piece of software, which is the browser. On most of the devices today, we have Chrome, and that's really good news in the sense that you have the latest and greatest in terms of HTML5 APIs that are supported. And in this short presentation, I'll try to go over the different main points that you want to think about when you are creating a new mobile web apps in terms of the design, the building blocks, and tools or libraries that you might want to leverage and not reinvent the wheel. Without further ado, let me jump into the slides, and if you'll have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try and answer them at the end of the show. So, yeah, here in the first slide, of course, we are using geolocation, and just do view source, and you'll see how easy it is to tap into the special ability that we have today in mobile devices, and that's just to get from the browser the location of the user and offer them immediately more relevant information based on the geo information that we have on them. If you'll have any questions during the show or after it, you are most welcome to come and ping me on G+ or Twitter. All the slides that I'm going through are now live under ido-green.appspot.com, and of course we'll have a summary with a transcript in my blog after the show. If you have some hashtags, those are one of the most popular ones that I'm using in order to see what's new there and to keep myself up to date with new things that are coming very rapidly into the ecosystem. So what we'll try to cover in the next 25-30 minutes will be just to give a short brief of the state of the mobile web today. Then we'll talk a little bit about design philosophy. What are the main things that we want to consider and evaluate when we are coming to design a new mobile web app? Then we'll give some best practices and tips about how to build a mobile web app. And here is a link of a very, very cool new game that Chrome experiment launched, and the beauty here is that basically we're having the remote control in our phone, in our Chrome on the mobile device, and we're using the larger screen. It could be Chrome on the TV or Chrome on your laptop or desktop, and the game is running on the bigger screen, but the remote control for the game is on your phone, and that's in a way just tapping to gain the best of both worlds in terms of slickness. Last but not least, we'll try to give some tips and best practices to save you time and effort and make you more productive. One little warning, many things that we are speaking here, and yeah, that's a very, very cool new effect that we've been using for the past 2 years, actually, is just to tell you that we are on the bleeding edge here in terms of some of the features. So if we're thinking or talking about certain things, please go to places like caniuse.com or any other site that's giving you a nice set of things to see which browsers, in terms of your users, are using them, and then you could evaluate if you want to use this specific API. For instance, let's take drag and drop. You can see immediately which browsers are supporting it and which mobile browsers aren't supporting it, so you'll know exactly what users could enjoy it and what not. Another really nice way to think about it is to use libraries like Modernizer and then have feature detection and not browser sniffing, which is not good. And with the feature detection, basically you'll know exactly what are the set of feature or capabilities that the certain mobile app is giving you, and then based on that you could use responsive design and progressive enhancement in order to make sure that some of the users will be able to be productive even if they are working on older phone, while if your user is coming from the latest and greatest in terms of the hardware, you could offer them more, and your app will work smoothly, better in terms of performance, and maybe have some nice set of features that aren't supported on older devices. We jumped into some mobile trends. Well, the main outcome from this slide is that mobile is big, and mobile usage is actually going to overtake desktop. Basically, we see the pace growing rapidly, and it might be even before we'll reach 2014. Another important thing here is that we have already nice research from third parties companies, so take it with a grain of salt, about seeing that actually the mobile web is here, it's here to stay, and lots of users are using it. Here in the specific case that Chitika did, we see it happening on the iOS world, happening right now pretty rapidly. When we're speaking about mobile browser, the good news is that most of them got very nice, elegant browsers that are supporting quite a lot of HTML5 features. In terms of the coverage, it's around 95% of WebKit, and that's including iOS, Android, BlackBerry, and some others. The main features that we are still missing are WebGL, Web Audio API, that's probably is coming really soon to in some of the browsers, and shared web workers. In progress, we have today nice, cool things like the Camera API and Indexeddb, which is a full-blown NoSQL database that we have today in Chrome for Android. For other ecosystems, like iOS, you'll want to use WebSQL, but since this spec is deprecated from 2010, you might want to use something like Launcher and then have the ability to switch on the fly between the database that you're working. So if you'll use Launcher, and we'll have the link to this library at the end of the slides, you could work with both WebSQL, Indexeddb, and if other browsers are supporting, let's say, local storage, you'll be able to work with that. So that's a nice way to approach things and then enjoy both worlds. And supporting several ecosystems just to make sure that you'll be able to work with offline first and offer your users the best environment and the best experience with your certain app. This is just a quick graph to show how quickly we're seeing Android going up, and how WebKit is supported on all the major platforms, as I mentioned before, Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, iPod Touch, etc. When we're coming to all the debate between web and native, it's always refreshing to think about using and leveraging the best tools for the job. So in terms of being close to the metal and using all the great features that you have today, let's take, for example, on Android platform, you probably want to create native apps so it will work as close as possible to the metal and will give you all the full range of different APIs. The web is, on the other hand, as a unified platform. As we mentioned before, you have it on different ecosystems. In all of them, you'll have the browser, and even on all the phones, you do have a browsers that will be able to read your HTML and show the user what you want them to consume. Native, of course, it's a moving target, and we're seeing it being improved very rapidly. Although we're seeing the web pushing the boundaries again and again, and the APIs are getting closer and closer. The standardization on the web is moving a bit slowly, but the good news, or the half full part of the cup, is that it's catching up and the pace is getting better and better. Here, there's a link to Scott Jason's presentation about what he thinks mobile web will look like in the next few years, and I highly encourage you to check it out. It's really worth your 45 minutes. Here are some really nice examples just to see what others are doing there. Financial Times, it's of course a media company, and their app is really a nice way to show you how you could tap into the offline world with a full-blown mobile web app. Workflowy, it's to-do list on steroid, or actually a way for you to organize your things and thoughts on lists, also working very nicely. And of course, mobile Twitter, which is another good example, and we have plenty of other examples. I'll have links to how you could gain more ideas in the next slide. Here's a link that shows us another research company that basically users are want to work with the mobile web. They are using the browsers more and more, and in some cases it's made perfect sense to them to open the browser, launch your dedicated web app to a specific task or goal, achieve what they wanted, and move on. Some bold, good examples. We mentioned Twitter. Gmail, of course, it's a full-blown mobile web app that working really nicely and giving you really nice sets of features in terms of the capabilities, the offline features, and all the other great benefits that we have in Gmail. Another nice way to think about is like with this app of food spotting, when you have a limited real estate, try to do your best to tap into what the user is wanted to achieve with your dedicated app. So in that example, we certainly don't need any footer, header, sidebar, or things that will clutter the app. Very clean approach, and you can see more and more way of thinking in those words in apps like Path and other really nice examples. So let's try and speak real briefly about design. First, in the old days, we have this notion of going to the designer. He's or she is working with the Photoshop, giving us the assets. Then we need someone to cut the HTML and CSS, and very cluttered, not truly elegant or agile methodology. Today, I try to break it here into pieces that are actually allow us to work much faster, iterate faster, and see how we're prototyping and getting ideas out there as soon as we can, just to validate them before we are going to the last phase of production. So today, you'll see more and more people doing a design through wireframes, or even trying to mock up how it will look like pretty quickly, and there's plenty of online tools that make you productive with it. The basic asset is to put the ideas on paper, on board, on a napkin, or on any platform that you want, and then quite quickly to sketch it with HTML and a bit of CSS just to see how it will look like, how it will feel. Then we want to achieve a bit of responsiveness and logic, and probably those cases will go to the upper right block here and add some JavaScript to add our own magic to the prototype. And from there, basically, we're going to the polish phase, which I call the important phase that separate the true professional ones from the amateur ones, where we'll want it to work as slick as we can, as fast as we can. And this is actually a place where we are going back to the schedule, to the prototype, but want to iterate over it as fast as we can. Of course, we want test-driven development in a way, or to have a final phase of continuous integration and to do some real testing on real devices, just to make sure that we have a nice coverage with the 2080 rules or any other rules that you want to do, in order to make sure that the vast majority of your users will be able to be productive and enjoy your app. And last but not least, of course, we want to push it to production, have our alpha, beta, release candidate, and of course the first version out there. But as we all know today, it's not the end of the trip, it's just one stepping stone in it. We'll want to iterate again and again and have more features over time. When we're coming to speak about it, basically the one fundamental shifting in thinking is that we're not speaking about pages anymore. We're more working on this one-page application, and we want to make sure that we'll do the best with the limited real estate and give a set of guidance or a set of tools for the users to achieve their goals with maximum efficiency. We'll want to use components, so we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and the web as a platform actually is going to give us just that. in the near future. For now, if you want to check the water, just try AngularJS with directives, which basically giving you a really nice way to think about reusing your code. Don't repeat yourself, and just leveraging things that you already did in the past. As we mentioned, in mobile and, of course, in mobile web, less is more in most of the cases. Because we don't have a lot of real estate and the user got some fat fingers in most of the cases, we want few buttons, few words, just to make sure that we are aiming or making the life of our users as easy as possible, as efficient as possible. Here is just a nice example of Path and what they did with their menu button. And if you'll search on GitHub, you'll find lots of repositories that give you just that nice interactions of collapsing the different options from the bottom left corner back and forth. A very nice way to think about. And another 2 tips here to remember, that on mobile devices we do have the landscape that is changing, so we want to do the best in order to use media queries and just be able to communicate it to the user. And of course, using just Photoshop is not as efficient as we wanted to see, and in lots of cases we probably could do less with Photoshop and more with just prototyping and using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Here are some really nice, bold examples that you really don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want to be inspired, and patterns.com and mobile patterns are just those 2 sites that give you the ability to go and see what others did when they needed a map application or a long list or any other things that they wanted to do, and it just will save you time and efforts and make sure that you'll be able to do nice things with them. Let's just, for the sake of argument, open it so we'll be able to see. So here are some recently added, but let's say that we want to see what's interesting things people done with lists. You have a very nice collection of things here just to inspire you and to take it from there. And of course, the nice example of a path. So we wanted to do this quick SketchUp and to see how things are working. And here are some few nice online tools. I will just add that on top of these tools, you could go today to jQuery mobile site, and you have basically Codia there that lets you mock up real quickly and get even the structure of the HTML from your mock really nice and easy to use. Balsamiq is, of course, a very popular, nice web app that give you the ability to do those things efficiently, and others, modern web apps that are there, and you could achieve them from the Chrome Web Store. One thing to remember after we did our sketching is that you want to make sure that what you designed is doing the best for the phone or for the tablet. They are not the same, and one thing that we could probably save ourselves is the notion of, okay, let's aim and do whatever we can with all the devices that have 4:3 screens or 16:9, just to make sure that we are not going too crazy with the media queries to adjust our app to each and every device. But a nice example that you see here with Flipboard, check their app on a tablet and on a phone. It's completely different. Even the ability to do the flip itself, they didn't use the muscle memory that users have in the tablet, which is horizontal flip, and they choose on the phone to do it vertically because it's just a better experience. And that's a great example to do what is best for your users and, of course, validate it with testing. When we're speaking about adaptive apps, apps that are less bind into a specific screen, we're talking basically about doing a repaint and refresh of our DOM, of our structure, based on the real estate that we're getting in the app itself. And we know that one of the main pitfalls is that it's really hard to use the same DOM tree for all form factors. So we're seeing today a nice, interesting debate between, okay, let's have one DOM and just use different media queries with different CSS, or let's do some sniffing in advance to see which device is coming, and then just make sure that we are sending back the dedicated HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that will do the best for this specific medium. When we're speaking about all those adaptive apps, we want to use some sort of a template library in order to make sure that our DOM refreshing and repainting will be as efficient as possible. And we'll see in the next slides how we could do that. And of course, when we're using responsive design, we want to use things like grid box, flex box, and not, of course, absolute position or relative position, because it won't work nicely on the different devices that we have today, not to mention future devices. When we're using CSS3 new grid layouts or flexbox layout, we could do ourselves a favor and just focus on those form factors, which will make our life a bit easier and are still very good for the vast majority of the users. Here is a link for Bedfox site, which contain huge amount of really nice information. And of course, media queries, which letting you see different examples in the wild and gain some ideas how your web app or website should look on a desktop, tablet, and a mobile device. Let's jump real quick to building. Of course, when we're shifting more and more logic to the client side, we want some clear separation between our data and our views. And that's why we see a flourishing in all the MV star frameworks today. And if in the past we used to have this logic in the server and just sending to the client the HTML pages that represent that logic, we're seeing more and more a movement of a thicker client that contain more and more knowledge. And that's come with the notion of offline first, when basically we want the user to be productive even when there's no connection or a flaky connection. Just a clear schema to see what we're talking about when we're speaking about model view controller framework, and specifically in the case of mobile web app, we do want our views to have the dedicated view for each form factor. So we'll have one view for desktop, maybe another one for TV here on the right side, and of course for tablets and phone. We could share the same controller to hold our data and to update our view. And here there's a link to what Eddie Osami did, which is a great things in terms of comparing the different MVC frameworks that are out there. Another nice code snippet that you could take here is to do something like that in order to understand which form factor the user is using, and then make sure that your code and other goodness is bring to them. And yeah, I see here people are saying a dedicated view for glass. Absolutely, I can't agree more, actually. In terms of the paradox of choice, basically we see it again. We had it in the server side a few years back when you see a huge flourishing in all the MVC frameworks in Java, for instance. And now we have the same with the JavaScript and the client side MVC frameworks. Here we don't jump into it because we don't have too much time. I'll just mention those three really bold examples. And with 5 seconds promotion to Angular, I really encourage you to check it. Not because it's an open source project that started in Google, of course not, just because it's a true passion of mine to see how people are thinking about dynamic HTML, not static HTML, and how you have dependency injection and test-driven development in a JavaScript framework. Really cool stuff. This is one of the compression table that you'll see if you'll go to the link and the hard work that Eddie Osami did. I highly encourage you to see. And basically, even here, don't take my word to AngularJS or to the wisdom of the crowd, quote unquote, that's going with Backbone. Just do small research for yourself and choose the best tool for the job. The to-do MVC, of course, what we mentioned, the link is here. When we want to run our complex app and we want to do some DOM manipulation, we know that we need to do it as efficient as possible. And here, the big secret, which is basically not a secret at all, is to use a JavaScript templating mechanism. Nicely, we have it now baked into Chrome and hopefully in other modern browsers real quick. So this is the link with the psst. So you'll be able to tap into it and to read. It's a very good tutorial that Eric Biederman did on HTML5 Rock. But here we'll just show you how you could do it even today. That will basically support all the browsers. We're using an embedded and a certain new type to make sure that our templating engine will work with it. And we bundle it into the HTML. And then we could use several templating engines. So here I use Mustache.js, which is a very popular choice of a logicless templating engine. And you could see in the example, even if you never saw it in advance, that what we have here is basically three parts. One is the templating, and if you'll move your head to the right, you'll see why they call it Mustache. Because of these little guys. And here we'll just declare what we're going to have in each spot. Then we're using a payload of our JSON. And the result, or what the templating engine will put in our page, will be this markup that the browser will know how to render. Another cool thing that we should leverage today when we are approaching the world of mobile web app is some new Css3 products. And basically, I'm talking about LESS and SAS, which giving us some goodies, not really a synthetic sugar, but more of a real tools to work with, like variables, like nesting, and mixing and inheritance in CSS. So your ability to work more efficiently with CSS will gain you more hours of sleep and happy users. And one nice thing to remember is that when you're working with it, basically it's easy today even to debug it because you have the ability to go quickly in Chrome DevTools and tap into the source itself of the CSS or the SAS code with map source, of course. Some best practices for the layout, of course, avoid the horrible tables that have been with us in the late 90s. No absolute position, not even relative position. We do want to use something like the flexbox. Why? Because we basically are able to communicate the browser exactly what we wanted to achieve. Things like, okay, separate now those boxes and make the middle boxes twice the size from the other boxes, or make all of them in a row or a column, etc. It's all trivial with Flexbox, and I just challenging you to do it with a regular CSS. It will be much harder and more code for you to read later when you're coming to maintain the web app. This little example is just to show you how you can control here on the orientation. So here it's horizontal. If the user is flipping the phone, you could do it vertical as well. And very easy to control the different components of your Flexbox. Yeah, the one caveat here is that we're talking about the new Flexbox, and there are relatively really few changes that you need to pay attention to. This is just to show you how you could easily control them, and there are really nice talks on developer.google.com/live that showing you more how to work with it. Some tips to remember. Is that if you want to have a fixed position for your header footers, it used to be a big no-no in all the browsers. Now, both on mobile Safari and, of course, Chrome for Android, you just need to do position fix. If you have an element that you want to scroll elements inside it, just do overall scroll. And last but not least, if you want this nice responsive acceleration, deceleration scrolling in WebKit, and as we mentioned at the beginning, 90+% of the browser are supporting it, just do WebKit overflow scrolling touch, and you'll be able to gain this nice ability. One important thing to note about touch is that it's very different for our mouse. We need to make sure that we are listening to the right events. And one common pitfall is to bind the events to the click. On mobile and touch screens, of course, the browser will wait 300 milliseconds because it needs to distinguish 1 click to 2 clicks. And this is why I put the link here to Fast Click Library that the Financial Times did, actually Axena, that was bought by the Financial Times, and which basically listened to the touch start and making sure that it's much smoother and much more responsive. And the other good link here is just to best practices of developing for multi-touch blog post that Boris Smoot wrote. When we coming to the world of offline and specifically mobile web apps, we want to make sure that our app will work even when there's no connection. Why? Because in the cases where we have flaky connection, or like on an airplane or submarine, the user could be productive. And a great example is Gmail offline, of course. And today, luckily for us, we have all the building blocks in place. So I know that they are not perfect, and they could be improved over time. And I see the guys that are mentioning and trying to point their fingers to some known candidates. But yeah, they will get better, and actually we are able to work with them today, so why not to tap into them? To storing assets, of course, we have all the good things here. And to know when to do the sync, basically the main API that we want to use is Navigator Online or Window Online. As I mentioned before, Launcher is one good library to use when we want to make sure that we'll do the best with the certain app or certain browser that our app have to use, and then it will basically give us the ability to enjoy all those nice APIs depending on what the different browser on the user device is supporting. And here is a short tutorial that I wrote a while back to help people convert from WebSQL to IndexeDB, just because WebSQL is a deprecated API, so you don't want to start a new project with it. One thing that held the mobile web apps was the ability to debug them. It wasn't too easy. Of course, for Chrome, for Android, your life is good, and you could do lots of things immediately and have basically Chrome DevTools and work with them very efficiently on your mobile as well. But for other platforms, we have JS Console that Remy Sharp wrote, and all the other good links here that you are most welcome to check. Another nice thing that I don't know how many people know, but basically in Chrome browser we have a server as well. So you could run it with this remote debugging port, which is basically part of WebKit, and have the ability to tap and run DevTool or connect your DevTool to client browsers, and again gain all the capabilities and the benefits that we have in Chrome DevTools. Testing, MVC, or the clear separation between our data and our views allow us basically to test our models, and QUnit is one great example. When we're coming to test our views, it's much more challenging, and here are some good links to help you achieve that as well. Speed, we don't have all the recent studies shows from all the big names like Amazon, Facebook, Google, Yahoo. Every millisecond count, and you do want your users happy and smiling, and that's why you need to focus on mobile web performance and web performance as a whole. And luckily for all of us, Ilya Grog on developer.google.com/live is doing great shows about web performance and pushing the web faster, and I highly encourage you to see his shows. Really, really quality, great stuff there. When we're coming to optimization, there are a few tools that are helping us today. Blaze.io, that is part of Akamai, let us know exactly what's going with our apps from different places in the world. And this another link here is a mobile pref, a bookmarklet that Steve Soderos did that enable you to tap into lots of information from your mobile web app and then analyze it, of course, on the desktop. And Speedy. Speedy is basically a new experimental protocol that designed by Google to reduce the latency of web pages. And it's in Chrome, so you could use it today. It will work much faster for your users. And you have Mod Speedy in a patch, so if you have control of your servers, I highly encourage you to check it out. The link here will show you how easy it is to install it and customize it. Last but not least, some tips and tricks. We have today few tech stacks that choose the route of convention over configuration, and some really brilliant people with lots of experience on their hands choose the best tools out there to make your life more productive. And Yeoman and Thorax are just two bold examples that I highly encourage you to check out when you are coming to start a new project. If you are developing on iOS, there's a new, it's not new actually, but a nice way to be able to see more logging, and that's by setting Safari Developer and then just opening the console. To simulate touch events, do you have it today in Chrome DevTools? And let me show you how you could do it. If you'll come here to the bottom right corner and click on the setting, you'll be able to open the setting of the DevTools. Probably for you it will open in general, but if you'll go to overrides here, you'll need to click here on emulate events. Let me make it bigger. And once you do that, you'll be able to listen to all the different touch events and make sure that your mobile web apps is answering them. It's not a replacement to testing it on a simulator or on a physical device, but it's just making the developer life more productive when they could use it while they're developing it and make sure that at least you're answering all the right events in the right time and using the audit and performance tab in the Chrome DevTools to make sure that you are optimizing even before you are reaching the physical device. Prioritization, of course, it's very, very important. And like any app, we want to focus on the MVP or the task that we want the user to achieve with the maximum efficiency. Take advantage, of course, of mobile-specific functionality like the geolocation, like the camera, things that are very important for users, and of course, not to mention touch. When you're building to the mobile platform, always think about speed because it's really, really different from what users are expecting or getting when they're using their desktops or laptops. And of course, optimization, don't start it before you need to, but do pay attention and do it as the last step. So yeah, to keep yourself updated with Chrome as a platform, and we have Chrome today on mobile devices, tablets, desktop, laptops, and TVs. That's a great site to check Chrome status. All the latest and greatest in terms of HTML5 APIs are there, and you could see exactly which Chromium browser will support them or supporting them already. Another great site to keep yourself updated, it's updates.html5.rock. As you can see, we're keeping it fresh all the time. And here are just list of resources that you might want to check and leverage after our show. So that's basically what I had. If we have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. Just feel free over the chat or through the Hangout. Okay, so I see one question here from Praveen is for newbies. What would you recommend to start with for mobile web development? So let's go. I see Renan already answered him about slide 34. Let's see. So yeah. So I will actually answer it in two ways. One is, of course, you want to check Yeoman or Thorex in terms of the full stacks that you want to start from the ground up. Those stacks will give you the best practices in terms of the libraries, the tools, and the ability to compile and optimize your app itself. But as a newbie, I will go and just check what jQuery Mobile or SunTouch are doing, and those are really good frameworks / libraries to start working with them. Of course, you have Twitter Bootstrap Responsive as another great starting point that basically giving you a nice CSS template, a responsive template to start your mobile web app. And in Twitter Bootstrap, for instance, you have also a nice range of jQuery plugins that allow you to have all the common functionality that you might need. jQuery Mobile is a really nice one because they already did lots of legworks for you by checking and making sure that the platform itself will work on a really wide range of devices. And SunTouch, of course, are doing lots of nice things in terms of the touch library that they have. It's more complicated, I agree, but if you are building a complicated app that your users will spend a lot of time in it, it's a really nice library that will save you in the end of the day lots of wheels that you probably need to invent yourself. Dojo, yeah, Dojo Mobile is another good candidate, and I'm sure there are plenty of others that I'm not aware of. Those are the ones that I played in the past. But yeah, you are most welcome to check and let me know, and I'll be able to update actually those slides and the blog post that we'll have as a summary for this talk. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, guys, so thank you very much. And oh, how did I create this presentation? Just do view source. It's all HTML, HTML5. You are most welcome to take it. It's the structure of the presentation itself is sitting on code.google.com. Just have fun. Okay, guys, thank you very much, and be strong. Until next time. Bye-bye.